All right, let's see what needs to be said. I find my mind going back to the meditation that I led tonight because it seems like we've also talked a bit about that just now. And I'm convinced of the profound value of being reminded who you are, um, and what's inside of you. I sometimes have had this experience listening to teachers who kind of know how to do this, who know how to kind of talk past our rational mind, and felt this little like something in myself kind of waking up, sort of like saying, "Oh, he knows I'm here." You know, this guy doesn't always know I'm here, but that guy who's talking, he knows I'm here. I'm putting words to something that isn't an actual voice necessarily. It's more of a feeling of like something being acknowledged and waking up. And so when I talk about a Buddha inside everyone, a Buddha mind, Buddha nature, it's really a concept that is not so helpful to get really clear about conceptually. It's a little more to something to try on, of like, already there is the capacity for universal love inside of each of us. There is a capacity for viewing the goodness in each person. And I know, as we are humans and we're really caught up in this conditioned world, there are so many moments where we can't see the goodness of people. We're kind of lost in our own kalesha, our own twistedness. One translation of kalesha, another is defilement. Defilement of mind is what they're talking about. A sort of way that the mind doesn't quite live up to its potential. That it obscures that to us, and so we can hardly believe it. But just notice as I'm talking about it, what happens inside. Where do you go inside? And I would just invite you to come down out of the head. Energetically, this is where all that conceptual kind of stuff lies. So come down into your heart, come down into your belly energetically. Just invite that and listen from there about who and what you are. That is, you are a sensitivity awake in the world, and a heart that reflects everything that comes into it and knows it on some level, surprisingly deeply. It's kind of a paradox because we have all these sort of prejudices about people and views of them and so forth. But once in a while, when my heart's really open and someone steps in, there's a recognition that something in me knows them already very deeply. Can just take in their energy, take in the flavor of the person, and know things about them. I think everybody has that capacity to some degree. I don't think I'm special that way. I just think that, for me and for everybody else, this other kind of conceptual mind stands in the way of our ability to take people in. And when I take people in that way, it's invariably in a beautiful way. I sense, even sometimes with people with a rather crusty appearance and nature, outward demeanor, when I really let them fall into my heart, if I can put it that way, there's a beauty there. There's an appreciation there. There's a sense that I could say there's nothing wrong there. I don't see anything wrong from that place of the heart. By that I mean, whatever kind of unskillfulness, crustiness that they're presenting with, there's a cause for it. I don't always know. But through that, there's still this sense of something beautiful and of infinite value. A value that doesn't need to justify itself through achievements or even being nice. The ways that we all socially try to demonstrate our worthiness of love and our worthiness of respect. And, all that kind of has to happen socially. I get that. But I want to remind everyone of just a place of perception that's possible, that's beyond that. And I have had some moments of seeing myself that way from that perspective. It's a little harder to see yourself, I have to say, but of catching the flavor of Mark Hart, tasting the flavor of Mark Hart, and finding such incredible joy in just the flavor of who I am. What is in it that knows that? It's kind of funny because whatever can know the flavor of Mark Hart is kind of beyond Mark Hart. It's beyond any identity or even personality or individuality. The place that can love in that way. And once in a while, external circumstances will just draw that out. I think of the birth of a child, since I'm so close to that right now. And just the way that what welcomes that child into the world is pretty unconditional. I'm sure there are conditions there that will arise over time and show themselves. It's not, but there's some way that, it activates this pure, or whoever you are, wherever you came from, you're welcome. And I'm happy you're here. Whoever you are. And I love saying that because we think as we give people names that we know who they are. Someone else gave you your name. Someone else, thought Mark Hart was a good name. It in no way names the mystery of what's here. Whatever your name is, whatever your relationships are with parents and friends, it in no way really captures or names what's here. There's a depth, there's a mystery to what is looking through these eyes that none of that can capture. And when you recognize that, and when you look at the world from that, it looks very different. And it's a different kind of love, a different kind of goodwill that's possible from there. And it's that I'm inviting you into when you use just a simple reflective device. I don't know this person in front of me in line. That's just a conceptual stepped stool to step up to a higher consciousness, um, to look from the mystery that you are at the mystery that someone else is. And it makes me think of Lucy, my granddaughter. She's so good already at eye gazing, as an infant, of just like looking at a face. Of course, her instincts are that as a baby to look at faces. And so she's kind of hardwired that way. But those eyes, they're so open. There's just, you can just feel that energy just so open. And the mystery of what's looking through them is so present, and looking back at the mystery that's looking at them. This kind of reciprocity of seeing. It's the gaze of lovers. Lovers can do this, where you just look into someone's eyes. You may have some sort of thoughts going on about how great they are or whatever, but that kind of openness where we really touch the mystery of each other and don't feel separate in it. So that's what you're stepping up to, really, in these simple reflections about the mystery of the people around you, the strangers around you, the people you hardly know. It's important to do it, too, with the people you know well, or you think you know well, right? We think we know people well. You've been married to them for years. They raised you, or you raised them. We have, that territory is kind of fraught because we end up again having concepts of people and putting them in boxes of various sorts. And if there are injuries that happen along the way, those can also form boxes. And so once in a while, it's really important with the people who are closest to use that little step stool to meet them, of, wow, here's a mystery, meeting a mystery. Here's somebody with a richness of experience I'll never know. A whole lifetime of rich and varied experience and feeling that I don't actually know, that makes them the way they are. And beyond that, beyond whatever conditioning and whatever kind of form they take, what's looking through their eyes is formless and vast and unnameable. What we are is formless and vast and unnameable. And just because it's appearing here in a human body and it's speaking and it's engaging in the world of form and so forth, which is kind of a mystery in itself, what's doing all that is beyond form. That which is beyond form is what could kind of taste and appreciate the flavor of Mark Hart. This particular character who's going through the world doing his thing and does it with a particular flavor. That in no way captures the mystery of what's here. So I'm hoping as I speak that my words will evoke some of that in you, that I can speak right past any idea you have of what I'm talking about to something that will just go, oh, and maybe look out at me from that place of formless knowing. The Tibetans call it empty cognizance. I kind of wish there could be a more beautiful term. uh, but, looking out from the stillness, looking out from the formless. To take a moment to do that. One profound moment of this can be life-changing. One profound moment of just letting yourself know the vast, formless being that's here and unknowable, really, is life-changing if you go deep enough with it. It allows you to be in the world on a different basis. We're not just serving the character that we're known to be. What we're serving is a bit of a mystery. But we're not just about this character that we're acting out like an actor in the world, in a particular context, with particular people, with a particular personality, with, kind of a whole train of experiences and learning that you're kind of pulling along with you. It was plans for the future and talents to give. That's all the world of form. And as important as it is, what knows it is beyond that. It's easy to collapse into it. Maybe nobody's ever even pointed out what I've just said. It's a privilege to even hear it, I think. And so if nobody's ever pointed out, you kind of forget that eye gazing you could do as an infant. You forget that kind of looking out at the world, seated in the stillness and the mystery and the formlessness of what's here. You forget that. You become somebody. And you fall asleep. So just a moment of like waking up to what I'm talking about is profound. And it's this that I think is the deepest place from which to bow to other beings, to offer them goodwill. This place of mystery, this place of formlessness. Whatever path they're taking through the world. Whoever they think they are, or however they're lost in who they are. There's a deeper truth, unrecognized often, of what they are. And your heart can acknowledge it. It's not just human beings. I feel it strongly with animals. We have these ways of measuring how intelligent they are, what they can do and so forth. And that's all well and good, but there's a mystery behind the presence of my dog when she looks at me and I look at her. There's a being there that's beyond. I can feel it. I can even feel it with trees, plants. There's a presence with them. There's something beyond, even though, I can't talk about looking through eyes, but they are sensitive beings nonetheless. They definitely see light, even though they don't have eyes. They definitely hear sounds, even though they don't have ears. This is all demonstrable scientifically. They feel vibrations, since they have a sense of touch, even though they don't have hands and so forth. They are sensitive beings. And they have this thing that's, for lack of a better word, I call presence. This aura of the formless presence about them. That's the same as is looking out of my eyes. There's a recognition of that. So there's another place to acknowledge this mystery that surrounds us. It surrounds us, and it's in the heart of hearts of each of us. And I can't help but think, if you can touch that love and goodwill is just that much more accessible. And yet be very forgiving about that, because it's so easy to get entangled again. It's so easy to go asleep again. It's so easy to be just buried in conditions and conditioning as beings. We didn't take on easy karma becoming human beings. It's not an easy thing to face. So going forward this week, all previous instructions apply. I think the simple reflections of, this person, like me, wishes to be happy. It is a powerful kind of step stool to raise your consciousness. That they, like me, get lost in things that obscure their mind from its highest potential. They're just like me that way. And nonetheless, they possess this same vast, unknowable, formless consciousness, which is worthy of honor and is the potential for goodness. So those are kind of the verbal, the conceptual reflections, which are kind of like stepping stones up to this. And I feel like I've just tried to articulate it a little more fully in this class than I have before. You might try it this week with somebody who annoys you a little bit. The stranger and the enemy, those are the places that we're working. That falls in the enemy category, but I don't encourage you to necessarily take the person who's hurt you the most or is the most complicated. But there are people in all of our lives, I'm sure, who are a bit annoying. They raise aversion in us. We feel separation from them, in irritation or judgment. And just pick somebody and begin to apply these reflections and see what happens, and come back and talk about it.